Right, so if we have to think of where we would start with our Revit journey, um, we can think about Revit, and it's a great platform to create and execute projects with. And if you use it effectively, it can increase your productivity on projects. So one of the first steps in implementing Revit is to create a Revit template that you can use to start your projects with. So the value of this really lies in the many standard settings and items that's typically used on your projects that are then already set up in your template. Okay, so if we just quickly look at our agenda for today, we will start with a basic introduction to Revit templates. Basically, why do we need them and where to start planning and preparing for them. Then we will look at the typical content of a template and which standards to include, and also continue then with some important steps such as your view setup, filters, and also view templates. So near the end, we will briefly touch on how you can include links on your template, and lastly, on how having a master Revit project can serve as a type of a library for any projects to follow after that. I'll also then end our session with some final thoughts and an opportunity for some questions. Right, so just a quick introduction of myself. So those of you who haven't seen any of my previous webinars, I'm Anim Nota, and I'm a BIM specialist here at Baker Baines in the AEC build space. I'm also a qualified professional architect with 7 years working experience in practice. Just a fun fact about me, I'm also a personal stylist, and I must say that clothes and plants are one of my weaknesses. So just a quick overview of Baker Baines and our service offerings. We are a niche consulting company, and our 4 areas of play are business process improvement, survey and design hardware, design software consulting, and also then providing training. Besides us being an Autodesk reseller and a training house, we also provide a scan to BIM services with Topcon and Leica hardware, and consulting on design software such as IDAS, which is a full BIM application of Civil 3D, and also ClearEdge 3D, which is the leader in automated feature extraction for the AEC. Great, so before we jump into today's content, I would like to run a quick poll. So if you guys see the question on your screen, you can just go ahead and choose the answer that's most relevant to you. So let me just quickly get it up there. Great, so question is, do you have a Revit template that's set up, and how would you then rate it? Number 1, no, I don't have one. I usually use the standard Revit template. Or 2, yes, I do have one. It's okay, but it needs some work. And then also 3, I do have a very good one and it works very well. So let's see. I see there's no votes yet, so let's check. It seems on my side that no one has voted yet, so I just want to make sure quickly, can you guys see my screen? Maybe someone can once again just, I see that there's a full screen is not available. All right, so let me just quickly just launch that again. Thank you. All right, I see that it says on my side it has been closed, so let me just quickly check again. Okay, so if you guys are not able to see it, it's okay. So let's just move on from here. Great, so I just quickly want to That's it. Okay, so let's just carry on and then look at some of the basics of Revit templates. Now, there are many reasons why we would want to create a Revit template. Some companies will have the need to create more than one template for different project types or even for different disciplines. So two of the main reasons for the templates are, first of all, to maintain standards, and then also increased efficiency. We will get to that just now. So in terms of maintaining standards, this can be in the form of having things like your annotation types, naming conventions, title blocks, line weights and types, and also object styles, all pre-configured within your template. Then just in terms of increased efficiency and saving a lot of time, this helps as you don't need to set up each project from scratch. Right, so then when a Revit template is, or when Revit is installed, it comes with several out-of-the-box Revit templates, and these we can use to create a project with. So a Revit template will also typically have a .rte file extension. So when a new project is created, Revit will prompt for a template to be used to start a project with. Also then your out-of-the-box templates can be used as a starting point to base a custom template on. So you can use that, you can modify your settings and bring components into your template. And once you're done with that, you can just simply save it as a template. All right, so then prior to us creating a template, it's really necessary to perform some proper planning. Also, during your planning process, it will define the who, the what, the where, the when, and also the how of your template. Although creating a Revit template can be overwhelming, if you perform proper planning, the process will actually not be as difficult. So also if you think about a template, I don't really think it will ever be 100% complete. And those of you who have created one and before or actually using a standard one might agree with me. So items and settings are continually tweaked to improve your template. So understanding that it's never finished will ease your strategy of creating one. You do not have to create or modify everything in your first attempt. Then just looking at how do we prepare for a project template, you can start with gathering your or any existing CAD standards that you want to use, and these can be used as a roadmap for items that need to be created inside of your template. All right, and then you can review what is out of the box. That is now the settings that are already pre-configured in the default templates, and with that you can then determine what changes are required. Also make a list of some requirements, and this list will consist of things like your fonts, dimensions, tags, markers, line weights and patterns, naming conventions, and also graphical displays. Then consider making some cuts. So this is to shorten that list of requirements to only include the most important ones. So if an out-of-the-box setting can be used, also then mark that requirement from your list. Then also important is to determine if different project types or clients require unique templates. And also many offices will have multiple templates for different project types or clients. And some clients may even require that you use their standards. So just a quick jump start to create a Revit template is actually by converting an existing project into a template. So you will start your initial project based on one of the out-of-the-box templates. And then during the duration of your project, settings will obviously be modified and components will be inserted into the project. So once this initial project is complete, you will have a good start to a template by simply saving it as a template. So when you do that, it will save it as a .rte file that can be used for future projects. Now, there's also some items that you need to consider in order to clean up your project before you actually save it as a template. So this will typically entail things like deleting all geometry. So the easiest way to do this is to go into your 3D view and then ensure that all of your categories are visible so that you are able to actually select all of the geometry and then delete it. Also, for those of you who have done it before, is actually perform a selective purge, and this will then eliminate components that are not actually placed in your models, or even ones that are project specific and not necessarily needed within your template. So if you delete all geometry, everything will also become purgeable. So obviously, components that are necessary inside of your Revit template should not be purged. Then also delete views that are specific for your project or actually to the project and then not necessary inside of the Revit template. And lastly, you can also rename views that are named specifically for a project to a more generic name. So this might be something like you calling a lobby floor plan and using it or renaming it to level 1 floor plan. Okay, so that's just showing where you can find that purge tool, typically in your manage tab inside of Revit, going to purge unused, and then you've got a whole list that you can go through and select objects to purge. All right, so then after you've set up your Revit template or it's created, users can actually also quickly access it by adding it to a recent files page. So initially when you start your first project, it would look something like this, and it will show you out-of-the-box templates. So this list you can then go and modify, and you can do this inside of your Files tab in your Revit options, and then simply by clicking your file locations inside of the Revit options dialog, you can modify this list. So you'll see there's a plus and a minus sign, and this you can use to either add or remove any new or existing templates. It's also recommended that a template be saved to a shared network location, and that the path to that template point be also specified. So once you've added some of your custom created templates to this recent files page, once you start a new project, it will appear in the drop-down lists. It would look something like that you can see on the screen. Right, so even though in the beginning you select imperial or metric, now in South Africa we use metric at the very start of your template, you can also set up your project units with specific formats and options. So to do this, to set up your project units, you can either type in the shortcut UN, or within your Manage tab, you can click Settings and then Project Units. Okay, so if you then go and click on a specific format or a unit that you want to modify, it will show you a format dialog, and here you can see all sorts of units that you can choose from, rounding and other options as necessary. Right, so then what should form part of your template? And as mentioned in the planning stage before, things like your general annotations and graphic standards should typically be included within your Revit template. These are also things like your line weights, line styles, line patterns, object styles, annotation symbols, dimension types, down to materials. Just a tip on this is that try to use the out-of-the-box settings as far as possible, and then just modify them accordingly. It will really save some time. Then also model content will form part of your template, and this will consist of things like your system families and component families. Now, system families are typically things like your walls, ceilings, floors, roofs, and then more on the MEP side can be things like ducts and pipe types, etc. And they are created and defined inside of your project, whereas your component families are separate families that you create and then you load them into your project. So when you need to consider what system families to create, and also which component families to load into your template. A good rule of thumb to follow is that if something is something that you will use in every project, then it belongs in your template. But if it's only used in some of your projects, then it doesn't belong in your template. So tip, less is more. Also then, don't overpopulate your Revit template. Try keep your file size to a minimum, and also a good goal for a file size then is between 20 and 50 megabytes. Then also carrying on with model content, obviously then the discipline that your Revit template is created for will determine what model content should be created or inserted into the template. So in terms of architecture, this will include things like your wall types, door types, window types, floor types, all the way down even to your material library. Then if you're working on a MEP specific project or template, this will include things like your MEP settings, duct types, pipe types, wire types, and then also things like your electrical panel schedules, electrical load classifications, and electrical demand factors. For your structural specific templates, you can include things like your structural settings, also then your wall, floor, and roof types, things like your foundation types, and also things like boundary conditions and analytical model settings. Then in terms of annotation contents, now Revit considers anything that is 2D in a project as annotations. So in addition to your model content and settings, your annotation content should also be considered when creating a template. Drafting views are 2D views that you can use to create typical details for your project. And then also any typical details that are used in all of your projects can be included. That also applies to things like your typical legend views for things like general notes, lists of symbols, etc. Also, typical schedules should be predefined with your appropriate parameters, and obviously your schedules will not have any data until your model is populated. So this will really save time and also create a standard among schedules in other projects. Lastly, your sheets can also be predefined in your Revit template with the sheet names and numbers, and this will also help ensure consistency with names and numbers across all of your projects. So sheets should also have your title box placed and also any typical notes or schedules added to them. Great. So then, besides the items that we've just discussed, there's also other items and settings that you need to consider when you create a Revit template. The items listed here would obviously depend on your discipline, and they can be reviewed and modified accordingly. So if we look at materials, for example, they are also created in your out-of-the-box templates in the Revit material library. And it's also a good idea to review these and also remove materials that you don't necessarily need. Additional materials, once again, can be created and stored outside of your Revit template, and then simply added from if you have a company material library, you can just add it from there. Also, a good idea is to have a template guide, which outlines the key parts of your template, and this explains to users how the template is intended to be used. So this template guide can either be set up in an external document or even inside of a drafting or a legends view that you can view inside of your template and then also inside of a project. Great, so then if we move on to setting up your views, filters, and also view templates. And now views we know are based on levels, and levels should be created for the number of stories within your building. So for your Revit template, it's recommended that you create the number of levels that match most of your projects. So for plan views, then it's best to actually create a floor and a ceiling plan for each level inside of your Revit template. And then in addition to that, you might want to create other plans that you typically require for projects. These can be things like your furniture or even electric, including electrical plans as well. And then also another type of view that is quite useful are your 3D views. Now, I typically create an overall 3D view and then a 3D view for each level as well. So you can use this inside of your project with your section box to actually then crop and just show a 3D view on that specific level. Then if we look at view types in our browser organization, now we all know that as your project gets larger and you have more views, it can get quite lengthy inside of your project browser, and it might make finding any views quite a difficult task. So being able to organize your views is important to save time, and also when you're looking for views to open. So one way of actually organizing your views inside of your project browser is to create additional view types. Now, this can be done inside of the type properties of the view. So, for example, you might have an existing floor plan, and you can use that to then duplicate it, and maybe you want to create say a furniture plan view type. So what that then does is it creates a separate section, and it files all of your furniture plans then under one section. So this is quite helpful. Then also the organization of your project browser can be customized to sort and group views in many ways by using your browser organization properties. So you can go on and set some custom view parameters, and these can also be created and used to organize the project browser. So just a note on the organization of your project browser is that you should carefully think it through if you're working inside of your Revit template, so that all of your projects are organized in a clear and usable fashion. Then if we look at view filters, I don't know who of you are familiar or actually working with these, but we know that your visibility graphic settings is your primary method of how you control the visibility or the graphics of elements inside of your Revit model. However, it will only change the graphics of categories in your current view. So with this, you can't override only parts of a category. So if you want to go and control the graphics of parts of categories, a view filter can be used for that. So what filters does, it provides a way for you to override the graphics and also to control the visibility of elements that share properties within a view. So say, for example, you want to change the line style and also the color for all of your 2-hour fire-rated walls within your model. You can create a view filter for that. And that is then based on a rule that will select all of the walls in the view that share a 2-hour value for the fire rating parameter. So you can simply then just add the filter to a view and define the visibility and graphic settings. So when you do this, all of the views, all of the walls that meet the criteria defined in the filter will update with the appropriate visibility and graphics. So with your view filters, you can either apply it only using your visibility graphics, or you can set it up in view templates as well. So if we look at view templates, this is actually one of the most important parts of a Revit template. And just to explain what it is, for those of you who don't know, it's a collection of view properties, such as your view scale, discipline, detail level, and also visibility settings. So you use a view template to apply standard settings to views. And they can also help you ensure that there's adherence to any office standards, if you have any, and also achieve consistency across construction document sets. So before you actually create a view template, it's also important to think about how you want to use views, and do you maybe want to use a specific view type. For example, an architect may have many types of floor plan views, such as a general layout, a presentation, a dimension, a furniture plan, working drawings, etc. So what you then can do is you can create a view template for each type, and that will then control the visibility graphic settings for each. Then just looking at how do we typically create a view template, it's fairly easy. There's one of three ways. So the first and easiest way is after you can use an existing view and set it up to display like you want it. And then by simply right clicking on it, you select create a view template from view. And from there you can set it up. Alternatively, you can also go to your View tab, and to the far left, there's an option that says View Templates, and you can just select the second option there. You can also select an existing view template and duplicate it and just rename it, and then just modify the settings accordingly. The last option is also then inside of your graphic display options. After you've set your settings, you can choose the Save as View Template option for that. Now, just a couple of tips when creating view templates. So as I said, create it for views inside of your project template so that you can use it for any future projects, and you only have to do it once. Then you also might want to include, or actually not include, things like scale and view range, as these might need to be view specific. And if you exclude this will actually help you ensure that your template can be used on many views of the same type, regardless of the view scale and the view range. Also then, the Revit out-of-the-box templates typically include several view templates that you can use. But if you create custom ones, you can delete the default template so that you don't get confused as to which one to choose or to use. Then also a nice thing is that view templates can be transferred from other projects by simply using your transfer project standards tool. Okay, so if we then just go and look at what this process of creating one looks like, I'm just going to show you a quick demonstration. So as I said, it's easiest is just to start from an existing view. And then, so here we can see this is specifically for a presentation plan view. And once you've set your settings, you will right click it and say, create a view template from view. You give it a name, and then it will take you into your view template dialog. So over here, we can see the newly one that's added. And as I said, maybe you don't want to include your scale. And then you can continue to change any of the settings that you want. Maybe as this is a presentation plan, you want to set some sketchy lines, and you continue. And once you're done, you say, okay. So if we go to our manage templates dialog, we can see our newly, let's just filter that, and you can see your newly added presentation plan view template. So you can then carry on and do that for all of your other views as well. So say you've got your furniture floor plan, you just want to tidy it up and hide some things. So you do your initial setup. Just see that, and maybe also you want to say, for instance, you want to add, hide some elevation markers. And once that have been done, as I said, right click and say create, or alternatively go to your view templates dialog. Okay, and you just go and give it a new name again. Right, so once again, you change your settings. And perhaps as we are working here on a furniture plan, you may want to just on that's a filter list, so you can only show the architectural elements. So maybe you only want your furniture systems and furniture to be highlighted and to show black, and have the rest on halftone, and that's where you can set it up. Okay, and so then the last option, as I said, is inside of your graphic display options. And after setting your settings, you can say save as view template and create one of that. So here we can see it's really a fairly easy and straightforward process. Then once your view templates have been created, you've got two options of using it. So the first option is to apply a view template, and this is done by simply right-clicking on the view name inside of your project browser, and then you select Apply Template Properties. So as you do this, your view properties are immediately updated. You can also select multiple views by simply using your control key to select them. And then just important to note with this method is if your view or your view template settings change, you will need to reapply it. So in other words, there's actually no link between the two that will update your changes. So if we quickly look at a demonstration of this, there's your view, and you've created your view template, and now you say apply. Right, you select your view template that you want to use, and we can see automatically your view is updated accordingly. Okay, now say we start changing some of the graphics inside of the view. We maybe put off some of the colorfuls, and just notice then if we go into that specific view template into the settings, it wouldn't have, the changes wouldn't have been applied here. So it's still the old ones. Okay, so if I just go and apply that properties again, it will up, and I choose my presentation plan, it will update to that view template again. If we do it the other way around, if we just go and check if we make any changes inside of the view template properties itself, say for instance, once again, we just test switching off your colorfuls. And here we can see it hasn't been applied to our view. We will need to reapply our template properties. Great. So then your second option is to assign a view template. And when you do this, you create a link between the template and the view. So with this option, you can it actually creates a link between the two, and any later changes either to the view or maybe to the view or the view template is automatically applied to any linked views. You can also assign a view template to a single view or to multiple views at once. So once again, just looking at a quick demo, here's your view, but in your properties palette under identity data, you select view template, and from here you select your view template that you want to apply, or rather assign. So here we can see it automatically our view has been updated. Because we didn't include our scale, we can set it here, but just note, so if we change, it actually applies, but here it's grayed out the other settings, and that's because it was set up in your view template. So it actually keeps one from accidentally making changes if you don't want that to happen. So let's just test if we go and see, say we start switching off some elements. Also, once again, hide the colorfuls. And there we can see that that change has been applied. If we go to another view and we assign a view type for that as well, we would see the same changes is reflected here as well. Okay, so that's that for the two options. Then also another nice and handy tool is that you can assign view templates to new views. So in other words, every time that you create a similar view type, it will automatically assign the view template to that new view. So really a suggestion is to go ahead and take time to assign those view templates to new views. This will also ensure consistency and that your new views display correctly. So let's see what this looks like. So now here, I've created a copy of my west elevation. I've set it up as a presentation elevation. That's a view type created for that. And you also, the graphics has been set up like you want them to display. So now you go and create a view template from this view, say presentation elevation. Set your, or modify your settings like you want it to, and then also then assign your view template. Okay, so once that have been done, you edit the type. In the type properties, you can then go and apply a view template to any new views. So if we from there go to our presentation plan and we start drawing a new view, this is now specifically a presentation elevation, and you just adjust the view range. if we now go into this elevation view, we can see automatically the graphic settings has been applied. So this works quite well. And you can then do this for all of your views. So if we just click on that newly created elevation view and we verify inside of the type or the properties palette, we can see that that view template has been assigned there as well. So now going over to including links inside of a template. So a question that is asked a lot is how to deal with the graphics and the view settings of links. Now, the visibility settings can be, or any visibility settings can be applied to a link, but you can only do so unless that link is physically inside of your project. Also, if your link is removed, you lose your visibility settings as well. So in terms of a template, working with links can be quite tricky. So a workaround for this is actually to create placeholder links inside of your Revit template. And these are basically blank files that you load into your template. So you can then go ahead and assign visibility settings for the links inside of your template. Then as you start your project, you simply replace these blank placeholder links with the actual ones. And important is to use the reload from option. So then this will update your link model and also apply the view template properties without you losing any of your visibility settings. Then, as I've mentioned earlier, one of your goals in creating a Revit template is to keep your file size as small as possible. So remember, the rule is that anything that's not needed in every project should not form part of your template. So to assist with this, a good idea is actually having a master Revit project that contains all of the items that you may need so that you don't have to create them each time. So your master Revit project can contain things like your system families and settings, and these can be brought into your project by either using your transfer project standards tool or simply by just copy and pasting individual system families from the master project. Just a tip is to be selective when you do this, especially if you're working with your transfer project standards option, as you might not want to include all of your wall types. Then also your master Revit project can include things like typical details, schedules, and sheets. And it's also a great way to create a detail library from which you can then select what you need for your new project. Details, for example, can be created and stored by creating drafting views inside of your master Revit project as well. So once again, your insert from file tool is quite handy for this. And you can use this to insert your details, but you can also insert views like schedules and sheets into your new project. Then the value of this, once again, lies in the fact that your Revit template file size is kept to a minimum, and users can then just update this master project along the way. Okay, so this then brings us to the end of our session for today. And I would just quickly like to give you guys a few takeaways for today's session. So first of all, a template is the biggest way to increase productivity at the start of a project. Then also many items can be pre-populated inside of your Revit templates. Also, anytime is a good time to start creating your custom templates. So it's really never too late. Then remember, a template is an ongoing project. So your first trial doesn't necessarily have to be perfect. Also, you can use a completed project to begin a template from. And as I mentioned, lastly, is create a master Revit project. Right, so I see that there has been some questions. I quickly just want to check the question box, but the rest of you are more than welcome to also post any questions that you may have. Thanks for your nice comment, Dewald. I see that here's one. Let me just quickly check. Shafika has asked, what is the difference between models and families in a startup screen? So your model, I think you're referring to your actual project. That is your entire project that you are using to model the whole building in. That will include things like your walls, your roofs, floors, every single thing of your building. While a family is, as I've mentioned, you get two types. You've got a system family and then also a component family. Now, system families are things like wall types and ceiling types, roof types, and they are things that are created inside of your project. But component families, I think that's what you're referring to in terms of families, are separate family files that you create outside of your project and then you load them in. Quickly just want to check some of the other questions. I also see that there was a question on, if you open a Revit and select a construction template and you start using it, can you change it to a electrical or system template? I wouldn't say you would necessarily start over. I think you would, it depends. If you maybe, I would say if you've started it on that template, carry on with it and start building up your own standards and settings, and also build up components and model elements inside of that, and maybe afterwards then save it as a proper electrical system template. So remember, I said you can transfer project standards as well. So yeah, I think you will just need to put in some extra work in getting that template then to be closer to a electrical or a systems template. Great. So I think I'm then going to move on, but I would like to encourage any of you who has any further questions to please feel free to reach out to me. I will get to our details at the end. Just to end off with then is our, I just want to show you our iAdopt consulting methodology. So what it is our unique method of helping clients. And this is what we use to optimize your business and processes and also workflows, help you adapt or adopt technology, and also design and make a better world. Then just what's the benefits of this? It really focuses on solving your problems, and also it's a holistic view, not just pointed at one specific thing. And it also extends well beyond the CAD environment. And then lastly, also it includes change management. So if we then just reflect on today's session and where we actually fit into your BIM journey, I would just quickly like to mention a few last things. And this actually ties in with our iAdopt consulting methodology. Now, say for instance, either you have a existing template or you don't have any capacity to create one, or you need someone to help you evaluate your Revit template. That's something that we can help you with, is either creating a custom template for you and evaluate where there needs to be some optimization for that. Also then, if you need any more guidance on Revit template creations, but actually any other things on Revit or any other Autodesk software for that matter, you are more than welcome to book one of our Revit Specialist Series training sessions. And we'll teach you all of these steps and also show you some best practices. And then lastly, if you don't already have BIM standards in your office or on your projects, we are also able to assist you with that. We also help with BIM execution plans, or maybe you do have some existing ones that you need some advice on, or some workshopping on, etc. Also, we can assist you, help and create one that specifically suits your needs and your organization, and also specific projects. Then also I would like to encourage you to just go and check us out online if you don't already do so. Our platforms are listed on screen, and also remember the Baker Bain support desk that's open on weekdays from 8 to 11:30, and we are glad to assist you in any support that you may need. Then I would just like to thank you all for joining me in this webinar today. I really hope that you enjoyed it and you learned something. And I wish you all a wonderful weekend.